The excuse of like, I'll perform better under pressure. I like, having that pressure at the last minute because I do my best work.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. That strategy of leaving things till the last minute sets me up to not come through. And so that is something that I have to constantly fight myself.
Brother, I could have taught a masterclass on procrastination, like high school through college.
I don't know if you can help somebody that just keeps fucking making excuses and not doing what they say they're gonna do.
Whoa, baby.
What's up, guys? My name is Erick, Galera, Marine Corps veteran turned entrepreneur.
My name is Preston Woody, former pastor turned entrepreneur.
And you're watching Grit,
which is all about setting a new standard.
That's right.
Let's set it, Erick.
That's right, man. It's been a awesome few weeks. Right now is January. This is going to go out in February. Yeah. And so one thing that I really wanted to dive into is what everyone's talking about right now, which is New Year's resolutions. And when this goes out, it'll be February. And a lot of these people that have all these big goals would have found themselves, like they do year after year, so far behind and already kind of forgetting what they said that they wanted to do. And I got to say, bro, I've been that person year after year after year with so many things. So just wanted to kind of dive into that and get your thoughts on the big P word, procrastination.
One of my least favorite words, one of my most favorite things to do in algebra in high school.
What is that?
Oh, procrastinate.
Oh, procrastinate
no,
with
thank
math?
you. Yeah, brother. No, thank you. Man, procrastinating is a massive issue because ultimately, what is it? There's something that you want to do and you desire to do and an outcome you want to see. However, you don't do it.
Yeah.
And then what happens? You set an intention, right? Or a resolution.
Right.
You're like, man, I'm gonna lose 18 pounds, and my wife's gonna look at me different, and I'm gonna feel better about myself. My confidence is gonna go up. And then what happens? Week 4 in the gym, you miss a day, and then after you miss a day, you're like, I guess I can miss another day. And then 4 weeks later, you're completely out, and you're feeling more defeated than you did before. And then what happens? Well, you say, okay, I'm gonna get back in. But then you say, all right, it's February 23rd, 2025. I'm going to get back in there January 1st, 2026. And we put off what we're going to do until a convenient time. And then what happens? The cycle continues and we become more and more defeated.
So what do you think causes people to procrastinate? Like, we say we want to do these things, but clearly we don't because we just don't do it. What is it that pulls us back from actually pursuing these things?
I could tell you the things I procrastinate on, which would be taxes, financials, data entry, household management items, like moving the dish into the dishwasher, right? Why do I put those things off? Well, there are like a variety of reasons because there are some people that are pretty good and eloquent at those things. But for me, personally, I don't have strong enough reasons why I should do that. For example, I don't have a short-term reward connected to moving the dish over or getting my taxes sorted out, as opposed to right before the deadline. What puts the pressure on is like, okay, there's now I got to get my finances and all my stuff in order because the deadline's coming. And if I don't, there's going to be some consequence. Yeah. That becomes the boot. However, life doesn't need to be that way.
It's interesting because this is something that I've noticed as a pattern. When we talked about meaning and purpose, you said the same thing. It was like there needs to be meaning behind whatever it is you're trying to go. So meaning behind all these things, it seems to be the thing that just keeps repeating itself. Yes. So whether it's the overarching, why am I here? And also, the little tasks, that you need to accomplish in order to reach the big overarching goal. So I think that is 100% true. And, as I look back on when I procrastinate, I think in my experience, I've not made a good enough job at focusing on a few things. And I would say one of my strengths is having an obsessive sort of personality.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to obsess over something when you have like 20 other things that you also have to obsess over. Then it's not obsession. It's just like,
It's a scattergun.
It's correct. So anytime I lock into an obsession, then everything else disappears.
Goes dim.
And then I'm able to pursue it. So what's helped me is to pick just maybe 1 to 3 things that I'm going to knock out and obsess over it. And whenever that happens, action follows. And then there's practical things that I, sort of developed and I'm very open and telling my friends about. It's like everything needs to have a date and time, right? So I'm going to do this. Okay, when? Well, next month. Okay, when next month? Well, the second weekend of, February. Okay, what day? This day. What time? Okay, now we have a date and time. The likelihood of you not doing it, and then you put it in your calendar, it's going to be very low. So, and if you don't do it, it was belligerent. Like you knew that you had to do it. You decided not to. A lot of times we just forget. But if we give it a date and time, it's a lot easier to achieve it. Have you found that to be helpful with you? Because I know you're a calendar guy.
Brother.
Everything that we do, it's in the calendar.
The way that I've suffered in life was being ADHD and thinking as a kid that I was broken.
Yeah.
That I couldn't get things done like other people could.
Right.
And it wasn't necessarily for lack of effort, right? I just didn't know how to manage myself properly.
Yeah.
Because I have to manage myself a little bit different than a engineer-minded data entry sort of guy. I have to, in a sense, self-motivate in a way. So I've found, and I work with this with my clients. It's called the PMI concept. Okay,
Yeah.
You can get anything done if you have PMI. Okay,
What does that stand
What's
for?
PMI? P is for priority. Like you mentioned, like is it on the calendar?
Right.
Right. Hey, we should hang out. Great. You ever talk to those guys like, hey man, we should get together? Yeah, we should. All right. See you later.
And it never happens.
Never happens.
Yeah.
Why? Because you didn't prioritize it.
Right.
Right. And the person that didn't prioritize it, it's probably because one party or the other doesn't really care enough.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
If you care enough, you prioritize it, which means, all right, what does next Friday look like? Oh, okay. I've got something with the girls. What does Saturday look like? Oh, I'm open. Let's lock it down. Then it's a priority. Okay. Yeah. Second level, that's P. Okay. If you don't prioritize, it doesn't happen. If we don't prioritize this podcast, it never gets recorded. Nobody gets to see it. M is for meaning. Okay. So a lot of guys say, okay, I'm going to work out. I'm going to work out this year and I'm going to get jacked.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put it on my calendar. But what happens? They're missing M, which is the meaning.
Yeah.
Why do you want to do it? What is the reason? And if you can articulate a strong enough reason, you can do anything. If I do, I'm going to become more of an asset and less of a liability. I increase my capacity to stay up later, work harder, love with more intensity. And I decrease my liability sake, which is I'm less likely to get sick. I'm less likely to be a burden on my family. I'm less likely to be injured. So I'm becoming an asset. And you're thinking, like, that's one of my meanings behind exercise, is I want to become more of an asset and less of a liability. And that pulls me when I feel like, oh man, I've had a day and I don't know if I should get in the gym today. I'm like, no, I got to become more of an asset and less of a liability. And so that's M. It's like, do you have a meaning behind it?
Yeah.
If I do, I get to hike with my grandkids. If I don't, then I become a liability, right? And then I, which is one of my favorite ones, which usually gets left off. P is for priority, M is for meaning, and I is for intensity, which means when you're in the space, when you're in it, you're dialed in. Like you're talking about when everything else goes gray and you can get, it becomes your superpower.
Interesting.
And that's what I found out about being, ADHD or having that stigma is it's not that something you're broken. It's you actually have a superpower that you just don't know how to use yet.
Yeah.
You have hyper focus and you can dial in with all intensity, because there's a difference when you work out and you're kind of playing around doing this and that. And then when you've got your headphones on, your playlist is in sync, you're dialed in, everything goes silent around you, and you're getting full contractions. There's a contrast there.
No, for sure. I hate just the stigma that you're talking about ADHD.
Yeah.
To me, it's just creativity, man.
Yeah.
Like every entrepreneur is creative.
Right.
You need to be creative to solve problems, and that's what entrepreneurs do. If you're an artist, you need to be creative, and we've given this negative stigma to creativity, and I think in an effort to sell the drug that helps you focus, right?
Yeah.
But I think creative people have a different type of brain that maybe not creative people don't have.
Did they ever put you on those?
Never, dude. I'm so glad. But I think though there's also the excuse of people that call themselves creative. Well, I'm just creative,
Sure.
know, and that's the excuse as to why they can't do
Follow
anything.
through.
Yeah, follow through. And so I think there's discipline that needs to be developed on a creative brain like ours, and it doesn't give us the pass to not get shit done.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I would hate not to be able to think the way I think,
Right.
Because that's what allows me to solve problems, and I love solving problems. So, yeah, man, I think that is a great tool. The PMI, right?
PMI.
Prioritize.
I learned it because for a season after I was a pastor, I did some speaking and training, and I trained in a mortgage company.
Yeah.
And PMI, private mortgage insurance, is a mortgage term. And I adapted and I adopted it, and I took it on and started applying it in other spaces.
Yeah.
So PMI for priority, M is for meaning, I is for intensity.
Yeah.
You stamp PMI anywhere in your life, you're going to get stuff done.
That's awesome. Yeah, man. So one thing that I think I like from the meaning part, the M.
Yeah. Biggest part.
Is the biggest part, right? And the one that I'm able to apply across the board, because I don't want to have to like sit down and be like, okay, why is this thing in particular important? And so the one I just copy paste on every one of them is confidence. And I can't be confident if I keep saying I'm going to do something and I just don't do it. I'm going to feel weak. And that is something that it's meaningful enough for me to work on that, right?
Is what you're saying is if you say you're going to do it, don't do it, you erode trust with yourself.
Correct. And so next time I say, I'd like to do this, I'm going to do this, like the voice in my head is going to say, yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah. 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 You're going to do that. And then it's not going to give me the boldness and the ability to actually make it happen because I'm going to have past history of saying that and not following through, and I'm not going to be able to be able to operate at the highest level that I'm probably able to. So that alone for me is what drives me, man. And the moment, no one is perfect, man, and I'm far from it. And so whenever I start procrastinating on all these areas, I have to kind of like take a tactical pause and say, all right, let's finish the easy ones first, and then let's focus on everything and start to build confidence, because like we talked about before with the little wins, let me rack up all these wins so I can get this confidence to go and face the final boss, right?
Right.
So how do you feel about that? And how do you feel yourself when you say you're going to do something,
Brother.
and then someone tells you, hey, so what happened with this?
Brother, I could have taught a masterclass on procrastination, like high school through college.
Yeah.
In fact, high school, I don't know that I got through by completing my work, but rather by having good relationship with my teachers, right? And being kind. I had to use the gifts that God gave me, and even in college, and barely made it through inch by inch. And procrastination was a theme, and I kind of get out into a space where I realize life's not going to be delivered to me.
Yeah.
The system's not going to work. I can't be the cog in the wheel guy. It doesn't work for me. And I tell you what, if I can change, anyone can change.
Right.
Anyone can change. I'm custom designed to procrastinate things off to the last minute. And there's also like a little bit of a thrill for some of us. I'll say it was with me, a little bit of a thrill in waiting things for the last minute. You get everything together and you go and deliver, and it works, right? And you kind of enjoy that high. Like, I don't really need to prepare like everybody else. And what I learned from John Maxwell is you can ride by your talent, but you'll never jump into the top 0.5%. Never.
No.
Unless you intentionally develop. And so I decided, I want to grow. Like I want to be a reformed version of myself. I want to be different tomorrow than I was today. I don't want to write off my talent. I want to make this intentional. I want to make a difference.
Yeah.
So, and that's where the meaning piece comes into play. I had to find a larger meaning.
Yeah. Dude, I'll tell you, like, just stupid areas that I procrastinate, kind of like what you're saying, and leaving until the last minute. So I have video deliverables for clients, right? And if they need to go out in the morning, then a lot of times I'm working like late at night, early in the morning, like 2:00 in the morning, preparing it, right? Knowing, this is easy. I can knock it out in like, 10 minutes. So, I'll just push it off. And then I've been in situations where like the computer crashes. Now I have no buffer. Right. Now I'm late on the deliverable. Margin. Yeah. Because I waited till the last fucking minute and I broke my word, and now I have to face the client and tell him that, my computer crashed. And so, but I also know, like if someone that I hired was telling me that their computer crashed, I would tell them like, okay, that's not my problem. I'm paying you to do this and it's supposed to come out here. You're about to lose me. And, so those are things that I constantly, like the excuse of like, I'll perform better under pressure. I like, having that pressure at the last minute because I do my best work. Yeah. It's bullshit. Yeah. It's just to make you feel better about being a procrastinator. Mm-hmm. So I will tell you, dude, I hate not to come through. And that strategy of leaving things till the last minute sets me up to not come through. And so that is something that I have to constantly fight myself. And I like the sense of competition and community where, you got several guys trying to accomplish similar things, and then you're sharing with each other, okay, this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
And then they come and ask you, have you done it? And, and so now you're kind of competing on who can keep their word the longest,
Yes.
I love that shit.
You're held to a higher standard.
Exactly, dude. When we went and interviewed Tate, it was cool because he would talk about that him and his brother, and pretty much everyone that lives at that house has, that mentality. It's a competitive household, right? So, sometimes Andrew would wake up and he would tell Tristan, all right, I'm doing, an hour of Stairmaster. He goes, really? I'm going to do 2 hours. Oh, fuck, now I have to do 3, right? So it was that competition that kept, them sharp.
Yeah.
I look for that because it's tough to, not as an excuse that you can't impose it on yourself, but dude, iron sharpens iron.
I believe it.
And so I'm constantly looking for those guys that have that edge,
right,
that want to push me and would allow me to push them. And by the end of it, we're both going to be better because of it. You know what I mean?
Yes, easily.
Yeah,
easily.
Man.
Okay. Now let me add to this, which is like why I'm in coaching.
Yeah.
Like I found coaching because I can freaking move people to action.
Yeah.
I can. Why? Because I can spot a procrastinator.
Yeah.
I can see it in your eyes. I don't care how much money you have. I know when you're not going to do what you said you're going to do.
Yeah.
And what I can do is I can get people to do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
That's why people hire me. That's why people pay me a lot of money, because I can get people to act and move on it, and they get results. How? So one of the concepts that we work with, even with Saints Crown, my company, is we take massive action. Okay. What does that mean? Okay. Our company, we're about moving men from gaining massive clarity to massive action.
Yeah.
You have the most motivation to do what you say you're going to do the moment you get the clarity on it. Your motivation will go down, not up. Right? When you know, okay, I need to contact this person.
Yeah.
I better contact them at 2:30 p.m. No, you set it in motion now.
Right.
That's where we ask the question, when would now be a good time? The answer is always
now.
Boom.
Right.
We move now, which means there's always one thing you can do to set it in motion.
Yeah.
Whether you get the clarity that you need to start a project, reach out to someone for collaboration. Like this morning, I got a message from someone who were talking about these planners. And so like I'm going to be starting a planner, like a custom design one, something I've been working on for a while. And I finally feel like I've got the guy that's going to help do this, and we're going to do this together and come out with this awesome planner. And ironically, it's like a teaser, but we're going to call it the MAP, the Massive Action Planner.
Nice.
We're moving people to action.
Yeah.
And so we have these ideas that we're just texting about, and then the next thing that we say is, all right, let's lock down a time. Boom, let's set it in motion. Let's lock down our deadline, our release date.
Yeah.
We set it in motion now because I could so easily, okay, so these texts are coming in, I'm working on this project. No, I've got to set this in motion now.
Yeah.
While my motivation is still high. Because people think, oh, my motivation will go up to do this later. No, you're not going to do it later. It's going to go down, not up.
Yeah.
So you set it in motion immediately.
Yeah.
So sometimes when I'm working with a client, they're like, yeah, I need to talk to someone about this. I'm like, okay, when should you reach out to them? Probably after this. Why not?
Now.
Boom, right there in the moment. And it's sorted out. Oh man, that's such a weight off.
Yeah.
Like, what was the likelihood that you were going to leave this and make that phone call? Not very high. I would have gotten in my own head. So that's what we call like massive action, but you take it at the point of your massive level of clarity, because things get more fuzzy, not less, as time goes on.
So I'm curious, dude, when you're coaching somebody and they're paying you to be that coach, and you guys set a plan, and then you follow, how often do you check in on that?
I usually work bi-weekly.
Okay. So like, 2 weeks later, you check on them and still hasn't done it. And so what do you do then?
I will say it's not often.
Okay.
What we do is at the end of every session, they're articulating to me what their clarity point is.
Yeah.
Because my goal is to take people from massive clarity, which is like, I know exactly what to do, why to do it, when to do it,
Yeah.
to massive action. So they articulate their point of clarity and then their action items.
Yeah.
And so they know articulately exactly what they're going to do, and they know that I'm going to be following up with them
Yeah.
on those items. So if I come to the next session and we have 3 items, 2 are done, 1's not, okay? And so the question that I'll ask is, okay, this item, okay, you were supposed to submit this check to this company, or you were supposed to, bring on this client. I will ask the question, what got in the way? And then they have the opportunity to articulate to me of what got in the way of it. Because sometimes priorities shift. Like, okay, I'm moving down and then this isn't relevant anymore, irrelevant action. However, something may happen of, oh man, I started thinking deeper about it and I don't know if I want to invest the money there. But the action items are based off the things that we've already gone through the sorting out process.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to like go back on there.
Exactly.
Because you would have done a lot of work to pick
We got
whatever
the clarity
yeah.
in the session.
So everything after that is an excuse.
It's an excuse,
Yeah.
okay, for the most part.
Right.
Unless for some reason it becomes an irrelevant action, which I'm a big proponent. I'm kind of a goals scientist. If a goal becomes irrelevant, you change it.
Right.
You don't have to marry it,
Of course.
just because
yeah.
it's a goal.
Of course, yeah.
So sometimes that's the factor, but most of the
But
time,
if it's a pattern, then something's wrong.
something's
right?
wrong, and
Yeah.
most of the time it's procrastination. And so
Right.
I've worked with a client who owns a landscaping company, some landscaping companies, and he was gonna make these new hires, and I drilled down. Oh man, it didn't really work out. I wasn't able to get a hold of him. Okay, so I get drilled down to what's the real reason? I don't know if I have what it takes. I really don't know if I have what it takes to run a company of this scale. I feel like I'm at my limit. Boom, we can get back to work.
Right.
That's the issue.
So
the
limiting
issue
belief.
is like you can't. There it is, brother.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
issue isn't that, man, I can't hire this guy, or I don't know if I can afford. No, the issue is you don't believe that you're worthy of leading a company this big. Let's sort this out.
Right.
It's a limiting
Interesting.
belief.
Have you ran into it's just straight up procrastination, and you follow up in 2 weeks and they still haven't done it?
Not often.
Really?
Not often. We sort those limiting beliefs out in our
Interesting.
sessions.
Okay.
So that it can't leech on. Again, like people are paying me to get them to move to action,
Right.
or to get that clarity.
Right.
And so it's not very often that a month goes by and the action isn't taken.
Right.
So if we articulate what the right action is, we're both in agreement on it. And it comes from you, not from me. I just
Right.
hold you accountable to it. We just sort out everything that gets in the way. It gets done.
Interesting.
It gets done.
Because I'll tell you, like I run into people telling me they're going to do something, and they're not paying me, of course, right? We're just keeping each other accountable, and over and over and over and over. It's like, dude, what the fuck,
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember when I was working for Pat, he would do consulting, and he would have what's called the Elite Mastermind, and it's like 7 entrepreneurs on a Zoom call, 90 minutes long with Pat, and he's literally, and it's 3 sessions, so once a month they get together with Pat at minimum. Because that's the least he needs in order to really make an impact on their business. And so before they even meet with Patrick, we would, do our homework and understand what the issue was with the business. Pat would do some research, and then he would say, okay, I've already been briefed. This is what's happening, so that they didn't spend a lot of time trying to explain what we could have already briefed them on. And so he would tell them, this is what we got to do. And this is a book that I need you to read that has to do with exactly what you're going through. Next month, when we meet, you're going to tell me, what you got from it. And then we're going to take these 3 steps this month. And then you're going to tell me what happened after you took these 3 steps, right? Most people, especially if they're spending top dollar to get consulting at that level, will do it. But there's people that make a lot of money, bro. And then them spending $10,000 and not doing it, it's like, whatever, like $10,000, I'll just pay another $10,000 and I'll get it done on the next session, right? And Pat would straight up be like, dude, obviously this is not that important to you. I tell you, I don't need the money and I'm doing this because I genuinely want to help. So let's do this. Go sort your stuff out. Whenever you're ready, call us back. We'll give you a refund. And I thought that was like, well, first of all, it's this bit of a power move, right? And then second of all, it's like, dude, I don't know if you can help somebody that just keeps fucking making excuses and not doing what they say they're going to do. Like at some point, you just got to cut them off. They have to figure shit out, and then they come back once they're ready.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever had a situation like that, but that happens to me often, bro.
Yeah, with people that don't pay. Yes.
I've seen it with both ways. People that pay a lot of money and also with people that don't pay.
Here's an interesting scale of what I've learned. Like, so I believe what, like the Bible says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
Yeah.
So people are tied to where they put their money.
Yeah.
Right. So people that don't necessarily pay, they don't necessarily have much of a stake in the game.
Yeah.
Right. If we have a phone call and you want some advice and I tell you, maybe I go through a little process and I give, some direction on what I think, like their likelihood of follow through. I think that I've been gifted in context of really helping people, like pull from their motivation to move them to action. Like I'm gifted in it, right? So I'm going to have a high level of follow through. However, if there's no pay, there's less play.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
So for example, like I have,
but if you have a lot of money, that doesn't mean much.
It can if you're paying more.
Yeah.
So for example, one of the highest paying coaches in the world, we've been talking about him earlier, is Tony Robbins. You're paying millions.
Yeah.
Right. So you can get that motive and clarity with the coach that cost $1,000. Right.
Yeah.
But $1,000 doesn't hurt if you lose it.
Yeah.
Right. People are kind of to a degree tied up to the dollar.
Yeah.
So the $10,000 doesn't hurt for that guy.
I just have a feeling that to some people, bro, the money is just not that important. And these are the people that go to Vegas and then they gamble it all and lose it all. And then they're like, and then they do it again after they made their money back. You know what I mean? There's some people that just, and that is something that I'm personally super curious about. Like with that particular person, what is it that is going to be the most effective way to get through to them?
Meaning?
To get them to actually follow through. Because they keep spending money, they keep falling on their face, they keep not getting the results, and then they just don't learn. And it's the same. Now, I've been that way, probably not to that extent. Like if I lost that much money, I don't think I would make that mistake twice, but some people do.
Well, for a lot of people, that's not their pain point. Now, this isn't everybody, but for most people, money kind of is.
Right.
But there is that select person that, there's a guy that I work with that makes 6-7 figures a month, depending on the month. Money's not the pain point. What is the pain point? His marriage.
So
his
how
legacy.
Do you tie it to the marriage?
You have to. And there are ways.
Yeah.
For example, not following through. Like I've done an intervention with a guy who is wanting to step out and start something, and he makes a ton of money. So money's not a factor for him.
Yeah.
But what is a factor for him is he's afraid to step out, that if he doesn't start this nonprofit, that he's going to fail or he's not going to have what it takes.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the process that I'll walk him through is, okay, how long have you wanted to do this? 5 years. Okay. What is not doing this done to your psychology? Do you feel better about your life or worse? He said, worse. I said, why do you feel worse? Because I know I'm supposed to do this, but I'm not doing it. What has that done to your marriage? Because I can pull the things that they care about and connect it to them. I'm not living in my purpose, and my wife can see it. and I'm blaming her. How are you treating her because you're blaming her? I'm being more critical and negative. What happens if you do that for another 2 to 3 years? I'm not married. You're not. So if you don't do this, you're going to lose your marriage, is what you're telling me.
Right.
Yes, with all certainty. Then what happens to your kids? Well, if I lose my marriage, the kids are split. I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, right. So then I can attach. Money's not his issue, so I'm not going to go down the lane of, okay, you're going to lose half your finances in this, because I personally care about the client.
Right.
So I'm not going to talk about what motivates me. I got to talk about what motivates them, because I want to help them change.
Exactly.
Right. So I'm connected to, he wants to make an impact. He wants his marriage to work, and he cares about his children. That's my leverage to help him change. It's not money. So you've just, to figure out what motivates people is to figure out what already motivates them.
Yeah.
And so by the end of this session, he's acting and he's filing for this nonprofit that he's put off for 5 years, because we finally have leverage.
Yeah.
Because he knows what will happen if he doesn't. Now we go into the area of articulating, okay, what happens if you do?
Yeah.
Like that's the meaning portion,
right?
The lives that you can impact, the legacy that you can build. Like, we go into that space too, but sometimes the pain of loss can move people faster.
Yeah. That is, I think, one of the most valuable skills, being able to drive different personalities and people that are wired differently, you know? I'm very good at driving people like me, because I live with me. I know what drives me. Very familiar with how this brain works. Yes. So anybody that thinks the same way, it's easy. And it was such a hard time, dude, when I got out of the Marine Corps, and I had to learn how to drive sensitive, creative types, right? I'm creative, and I'm also sensitive, but not like these different types of sensitive, creative people. And so I'm working at BT at Valuetainment, and I have all these editors and graphic designers and stuff like that. And I'm fresh out of the Marine Corps, and I'm talking to them like I'm talking to my Marines. And I'm thinking like, well, I mean, this is what fires me up. Like, I expect it to fire them up too. And no, they all quit. And now I have to, the job is my responsibility at the end of the day. So it still needs to get done. So now I'm having to, hire, and I'm having to learn more about, what is it that I did wrong? Like I was so oblivious as to why it didn't work. And I'm thinking like, I did all the right things. They're just fucking weak. And then I'm like, dude, if I expect everyone to see the world the way I see it, I'm never going to be able to build anything meaningful. Beautiful. And so that was...
Whoa, say that again.
Anything meaningful, the big M, right?
Okay, so, the whole statement.
Yeah.
If I what?
If
I expect people to see the world...
The world, the way I see it, I'm not going to be able to build anything meaningful.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's true, man. So I needed to understand, I needed to step outside of my own self. And there's a whole deal of selfishness that comes with that perspective, right? Like, no, you should see the world the way I see it. Why? You're your own person with your own experiences. And why? Like, I needed to be curious about other people. And I will say this, dude, like, I think I was much more empathetic when I was very young. And then life, and then the Marine Corps made me very, I don't know how to describe it, but I just didn't care for people. Like, I loved animals, and that's about it. I hated people. I just tolerated people. Yes. And people annoyed me because I saw ugly sides of people. Yes. And I had to get over that. And one thing Hormozi says a lot is like, anytime you're annoyed or you're upset at somebody, it's because you don't understand. So if you work on, hey, the reason you're feeling this is because you don't understand why they did this. If you understood, you wouldn't be upset. It's like we talked about this earlier. If a snake bites you and you're upset, you're the dumbass. But if you understand that that's a snake, it's a snake. What else was I supposed to expect from the snake, right? So I needed to step outside of myself and understand your experiences and what made you become who you are. And once I understood that, I was able to say the right things and drive them. And it boils down, bro. One thing I will say, it is impossible to lead anybody to do something that they wouldn't do on their own without love. If you
Yes.
genuinely love people,
Yes.
they'll pick up on it
Yes.
and they will just give you the bird, bro. Like nobody
Yes.
wants to be told what to do. But if you genuinely love them and want to help them and you show that to them, they see that.
Yes.
And so they're a lot more likely to listen and say,
Yes.
okay, you know, I'll even take tough love after you've demonstrated that you actually care about
Brother.
me. Yeah.
Brother, I couldn't agree more, because I think that the reason why I can shift shoes and look at different frames to work with almost any sort of client and figure out where they're really coming from is I know what it feels like to be wrongfully diagnosed and prescribed.
Yeah.
Like I know what it feels like to be in a doctor's office back when the answer for depression and anxiety was medications or pharmaceuticals, and for them to give me the wrong meds and feeling like the doctor didn't listen to me, and I have this physical reaction having the wrong stuff. Like there is more danger in wrongly prescribing than not prescribing at all.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
And you hit the nail on the head. Like in order to help people succeed in this context, even from coaching and leadership, you have to care.
Yeah.
You have to care, because if you care, then you'll listen. And if you listen, you'll ask the right questions. And if you ask the right questions, then you can help the person get the clarity that they need.
Have you ever tried helping somebody while you didn't care?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, maybe you didn't realize it in the moment, but maybe you the love wasn't there. You were trying to help, but it was ineffective because you really didn't care.
Dude, I think, I mean, like last week with my wife, I think so. I mean, I care and I love her, but sometimes I'm just trying to see. I'm not trying to see the world from her frame. I'm just trying to see it from mine.
Yeah.
And I think that's a consistent challenge of when my daughter's crying and fussy and I'm like, come on, you got to get it together. We've got other places to go. We've got an agenda. And then maybe I talk firm to her, and then I frame up and realize, oh gosh, we've been out past 9 every night. Mm-hmm. She's usually in bed by 7:30. She's been doing so good. She's frustrated. I've been working extra and she hasn't seen me so much.
Yeah.
Right. Like even like with kids and toddlers, like they have a frame too.
Yeah.
And so I think, to answer your question, do I try to help somebody without coming from a lens of love? I think all the time. It's something that I just have to I have to intentionally go back into.
Yeah. No, I many times, bro. To me, because my school was the way that I was trained, and that's the way that my brain works too. But like, if you no longer put out, like I would no longer care. Move on to the next one, right? And I think there's a balance. I don't think you need to continue to try to help someone that doesn't want to be helped. Right. So I think that there's that element there. But at the same time, I think it's a dangerous place to be where you stop caring and loving people, even if they don't do what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
I mean, how many times have you and I not done what we were supposed to do, and we had someone that consistently still cared?
Yes.
You know, maybe they weren't as pushy, but they were still there in case we wanted to come back, and they were ready to help us, right? So I think that perspective, because I know exactly what you mean, is like, get it together. Like, you know, you don't want to coddle, but at the same time, you need to not be selfish and expect them to see the world and experience it the way you do. And so being able to put on the different glasses, it's going to allow us, I think, to be able to speak to them in their language.
Yeah.
And that's going to be far more effective than doing it in ours. So that is something that I'm far from being able to master this, but I want to get really good at it. And we were talking about Tony Robbins. I think he's the GOAT, man, because he's been doing this for decades, bro. Like, how many people's lives has he changed? How is he able, like, every time I hear him speak, bro, like, he's always happy. Like, that's not me, dude. Like, well, I don't have very highs and very lows. I'm very, neutral, but dude, that guy seems to be on a high the whole time. Sure. It's like his neutral is up here, dude. Right. And I'm always fascinated by that. I'm like, dude, how do you not let like, just shit, bother you. And how are you able to get people to change, consistently in mass. So that is, to me, the goal. I'd like to be able to do that for people. And I think that is something that's beneficial in anything that you do, whether it's in business, whether it's with your family, no matter what you do, being able to influence people to do something that they wouldn't otherwise do on their own is extremely valuable. So, and it starts with us, man. It starts with us. Sometimes even like, I'm very hard on myself. Sometimes being able to say, dude, I still love you. You fucked up. You didn't do what you were supposed to, but I still love you, Eric. Let's start over and let's make sure that this gets done this time.
You said you're very hard on yourself. I know a lot of guys are, especially a lot of guys that would probably listen to something like this called grit, right?
Yeah.
It's usually not a pansy that's going to want to click onto a grit podcast. It's usually someone who's got high standards, wants to have high standards, and is probably pretty hard on himself.
Yeah.
Okay. And so a lot of guys are so hard on themselves that they beat themselves into oblivion and don't make any progress, right? So talk to me about what that looks like in your life. You said you're hard on yourself.
Yeah.
That can be an asset, but it can also be a liability. Hitting the jaw can motivate you to take action, but getting your lights knocked out can cause you to lose some progress.
Yeah. I think it's, for me, being hard is not something I don't want to not be, being hard on myself. But if it's so much to the extent that it keeps me from moving or it affects my confidence, that's when I need to reassess.
Does that happen?
Oh, yeah, many times. And then I have to say,
what triggers it?
Well, if I procrastinate and I drop one thing and another and another and another, I'm so hard on myself, I'm going to feel like I'm going to be yelling at myself the way I would yell at someone else. And then I'm going to feel like...
What does that sound like? What's that language?
I mean, I'm going to be like, dude, are you fucking serious? Like, it's not that hard. Like, it's literally not that hard. Like, why can't you just do what you say you're going to do? And so I'm like, fuck, that's right. And then you just like, your mood kind of goes, I'm like, fuck, dude, you feel weak.
Right.
And I can't feel weak.
Right.
If it affects me to the point that I'm now feeling weak, then that's a problem. And so I think it's worthwhile taking a pause and saying, okay, but I still love you, and God still loves you, and we can still turn this ship around. So I think that's the objective at the end of the day is to be able to do these things. Yes. But if I'm so hard on myself that I can't do them, and it's even harder to do them as than it was to begin with, then that's a problem. But I don't want to give. But I have friends too that tell me, it's okay, bro. No, you gotta not be so hard on yourself. I don't like that either. I like being hard on myself. I don't like giving myself passes. Like, this is unacceptable. Yes, it is unacceptable. But we can still make it right today. Let's put a plan together so we turn this ship now, like you were talking about now. I don't subscribe to the idea like, just lower your standard. It's okay. No, it's bullshit too.
To me, that's compromise.
That is compromise, and I'm not about to compromise standards.
So there's like three categories you touched on. There was compromise, which you don't want to do. Give yourself a pass. There's, I use the word critic or criticize.
Yeah.
Which is critique yourself into oblivion. Yeah. And then the third would be challenge. Right. Which gives you an opportunity to rise. Yeah. So how do you, for example, like a lot of women are highly critical of their man. And I see this all the time. And so
you speak from experience.
They'll critique. I will say, like, there's a few different types of women. There's the Aruba woman who will.
What's Aruba?
Aruba, a resort in Aruba. Imagine
gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who is symbolic of whatever you want, honey. I'll do what you want. Yeah. When you want, whatever you say goes. Yeah. And it'll be easy. Okay. So what happens to that man? Does he rise, or does he stay the same? When everything is easy with your woman, you stay the same. Yeah. You stay the same or you decrease.
Interesting.
Okay. And a lot of guys will have let's call a North Atlantic woman, right? Where she is not going to be okay with you staying the same.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of guys have that, but they want the Aruba woman.
Yeah.
Right. And again, we're talking about a snake's a snake.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they think they want the Aruba woman, but what really is, she's offering the man a challenge to rise to a new level. She wants to be led at a higher level. It's not that she's negative and critical. She knows that you're capable of more.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the contrast that I'm talking about is a lot of men want something a little bit different. And from a feminine perspective, women can help challenge you. The right woman can help challenge you to the next level.
Yeah.
If you can sustain a little bit of criticism here and there.
Interesting. I will say, dude, I've not been in any, like many like long-term relationships, but I was engaged once, and there was a lot of things that, I mean, there's a reason we're not together anymore, but there's also things that, you know, there's a reason I also proposed to her. And one of the things that worked really well with me, at least in my experience, is belief from your woman is like jet fuel, dude.
Yes.
So it's less about you challenging me.
Yeah.
It's more about you saying, dude, you're special.
Yeah.
I know you're going to go far.
Yes.
Like that, you know, these people you look up to, that ain't shit. I know you're going to do so much more. And dude, that helped me just.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
Now let me add some context to what
It's
challenge
addicting,
means.
kind of.
Challenge is not the woman saying, hey, I see your buddy's doing this. Why can't you get out there and do that?
Right.
Right? Like Jessica's husband is always serving her breakfast in the bed. What's up with you? Mm-hmm. That's criticism. That's critique.
Yeah.
Challenge is, sweetheart, you did it before. You can do it again.
Yeah.
Get out there.
Yeah.
I know there's more in you.
Yeah.
Right? That's challenge.
I got you.
In that contrast.
Yeah.
And challenge will be the wind in a man's sail.
Yeah.
Critique will eventually become an anchor that
Yeah, it's just nagging, dude.
that's crashes the ship.
Yeah, no man wants a nagging woman, but no, I totally get it. But I forget how we got to this.
So you were talking about being hard on yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And that can become a form of, I suppose, procrastination. But how do you break the cycle when you become too critical of yourself?
Because of my extremist personality, sometimes it gets really bad before it gets really good.
Well,
and it goes.
What does really bad look like?
Like I need to have dropped so many things, and really like let myself go. Like what, you know, if I, you know, stop my nutrition plan, like I'll probably gain like a good 5-10 pounds before I turn the ship. You know what I mean? And then I go and lose 20. You know, and I go in extremes. And that's something that it's good and bad, right? If you can't control it, it could be bad. But for me, how do I turn the ship? So if I'm being very hard on myself, and to the point where I'm not improving, I need to sort of do the easy things, the easy wins, like we talked about, that are going to get that confidence back. For me, the way my brain works, bro, like I can't be in a cluttered space. If my room's a mess, if my car is a mess, if I'm eating like shit, like that makes me feel the way I don't want to feel. So those are the first things I need to start doing. And those are things that I need to, okay, we're going to do this easy thing first, and then the next one, and the next one. And one thing I will say though, it's, and Tony says this a lot, it's like what you focus is what you feel.
Yes.
So anytime, because once I start doing these bad habits and procrastinating, I start feeling shitty, like most of us do, right? And no one likes to feel shitty. And I'm focusing on the wrong thing. So then I have to, you know, whether it's resentment, whether it's anger, whether it's frustration, like I'm looking at the wrong thing. And the easiest thing to do that I tell everybody, and Tony says this all the time, is it's impossible to feel any negative thoughts when you're grateful. Mm-hmm. So if you start, you know, just naming all the things you're grateful for, dude, I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this, then you're not feeling like that anymore. And it's crazy how emotions fuel you, like it gives you the fuel to be able to do what you need to do. So now that I'm not feeling angry or stressed or sad, now I'm actually excited to do what I needed to do to begin with. But I guess if I had to summarize it, it's my focus. Once I start feeling the negative feelings, I need to switch my focus and understand what I need to, and it starts with being grateful. Because sometimes I don't even need to, like, I might be in a place I'm so lost, I don't know what to focus on, but it starts with being grateful.
Okay, when you're ticked off, it's hard to be grateful.
Yeah.
It's the last thing you want to do, but the thing you need to do most.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you? You're ticked off, you're self-critical. How does practicing gratitude, what does that look like for you?
I'm not supposed to be where I'm at, bro. I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not the such a good guy. Gets such a good heart. I can be an asshole. And so
you can.
Yeah. And I know that about myself. And so I believe in God, bro. So I pray to God and I say, God, thank you so much because I don't deserve any of this. And I start naming it. This and this and this and this and this. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, I got so much going for me. But sometimes, when you're in that bad place and bad mood, all you see it's what you don't have or what they should have done for you. That's what we talked about in a previous episode of, I don't expect things from people. Like no one owes you anything. So the moment you start feeling like, I can't believe this person didn't do this or they did this, it's like, why? Like they don't need to do anything. They are who they are, bro. And so, and if you expected something because you did something, then that's transactional. Then you're fucked. Yeah. Like you shouldn't do that to begin with if you're expecting this other thing in return. So, that's what it looks like for me. And usually I'm driving and I'm just, I turn off the music and it's just quiet and I'm just, praying and I'm saying, God, thank you for this, and this, and this. And it helps clear my head.
So you talked about you're changing your focus.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're in what I call like a weak state.
Yeah.
So it's hard to influence or help someone in a weak state.
Correct.
Because you're thinking about what's wrong. Your defenses are up. You're critical externally or critical internally. Mm-hmm. Your cortisol is flowing. Mm-hmm. Your lizard brain's fired up and you're in fight or flight.
Yeah.
Right. And so the first thing that we do is what you're talking about and what I do with clients is you change your state.
Yeah.
If you can change your state, put yourself into a present or a peak state.
What does that mean, state?
State. There's 4 human states. Okay. Which in context of like coaching and communication, if you want to help move someone to action, you change their state. If you want to deliver at a higher level, you change your own state.
Is that an environment? What does that mean?
There are 4 human states. The first state is a weak state. Okay. Mm-hmm. Which is you at your worst.
Okay.
Okay, you ever like said something that you don't mean, and then later you think back on it, like, gosh, I wish I didn't say that. That's not me. Mm-hmm. It was you were in a weak state. Mm-hmm. It's you at your worst. It's like a giant boulder. It's hard to move.
Yeah,
your emotions are kind of in control of you.
Yeah.
So that's a state that a lot of people live a lot of their lives. You're easily offended. You're easy to provoke, and you're very defensive in this state, right? Focused on a lot of negative emotions, maybe self-critical, externally critical. The second state is a passive state, which is you're distracted. You're on your phone. So if I pull up my phone, I start scrolling through the gram.
That's like 95% of Americans.
I'm in a passive state.
Yeah.
Okay. In a passive state, you're kind of sedated.
Yeah.
You don't feel highly positive or highly negative emotions. Mm-hmm. You may feel dopamine, but you're not going to feel like serotonin. You're not going to feel love, connection.
Yeah.
Right. So you said that's where most people live most of their life.
Right.
They're driving, listening to the radio. They're not thinking their thoughts. They're thinking somebody else's thoughts.
Yep.
They're downloading somebody else's thoughts on an audiobook, a podcast. You're in a passive state.
Yep.
You're sedated to a degree.
Yep.
Right. So the passive state is the gateway to a weak state. Mm-hmm. Most people live their life in a passive state. That's why most people are easily triggered. Mm-hmm. More people are easily triggered today, in my opinion, than ever in the history of the world.
Yeah.
Now there are 2 other states, which I make sure my clients are in our seminars and coaching before we get anything done.
Yeah.
Because you can't get progress in a weak or a passive state. So I move them into a present state. That means your emotions, your 5 senses are in the room. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm in a fully present state with you.
Yeah.
Like my 5 senses are here. We're touching this table. I'm looking you dead in the eye.
Yeah.
Like, and also my soul, my mind is in the room. Mm-hmm. My emotions are in the room. You ever talk to somebody where you're talking to them in the room, but they're thinking about something else? And can you feel it?
Yeah.
Can you feel when someone's with you there, but not really there?
Yeah.
Right. They're in a passive state, but you're in a present state.
Right.
When they're not, their desire is somewhere else.
Yeah.
To be in a present state is my desire is to be here. I'm not thinking about anywhere else. I'm right here in the room.
Yeah.
Then the last state, which is my favorite to be in, is a peak state, which is you at your best. Mm-hmm. You're in flow state. You're delivering. Like I go into a peak state, I'm not thinking about mechanics. I'm just flowing.
Yeah.
The words are flowing out. The thoughts are flowing out. The plan is flowing out.
Is it possible to stay there?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not because
That's why it's
and
peak.
I think that's why it's peak.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
You think of it. I have a graphic. It's kind of like a triangle. It's so easy to be at the bottom. Peak state's hard to sustain. A present state is probably the best state to live in consistently. If we were in a peak state at all time, we would think we were God
Yeah.
because we can deliver.
Yeah.
We give, we activate. I feel great, right? And so, by God's grace, we have a present state where we can practice gratitude, reflection. So whenever I'm going to work with someone, I usually try to put myself into a peak state because when you're in a peak state, you don't think about yourself; you think about others.
Yeah.
That's when you're delivering. Like
Yeah.
when you're working on content or a process or a talk, and I'm not thinking about how I'm going to come off or I'm thinking about how this is going to impact somebody.
Yeah.
How this is going to change someone's life.
Yeah.
Boom. The less you think about yourself, the better you can deliver. So those are what I mean by the force human states. So even in context of procrastination, this is your biggest key. You can, if you change your state, then you can take some action. So
Yeah.
it's hard to take action in a weak state. You're self-critical. You're in your head. When you're in your head, you're dead.
I mean, it all starts with awareness, I guess, huh?
It does.
Yeah.
Awareness of what state you're in.
Correct.
So I'm not going to have a conversation with my wife if I'm in a weak state.
Yeah.
I have awareness that, okay, I'm probably not gonna tango well.
Yeah.
I need to change my state. Before I come in the house, I'm not going in there in a passive state.
Yeah.
I'm going in a present or a peak state because I want to lift the atmosphere of the room.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you familiar with the book Power versus Force?
I am.
Yeah.
One of my coaches recommended it to me.
Really? So you've read it already?
I've like skimmed it, but
Gotcha.
I haven't devoured it. But yeah.
It's super interesting, and it kind of resembles what you're describing right now.
Yeah. When you were talking about like changing your focus, there are 3 ways to change your state. Focus is one of them. So changing what you focus on.
Yeah. So what's the other?
Focus is like, so rather than focusing on what's wrong, you're focusing on what's possible, gratitude. Second is physiology, right? Before this podcast, I'm jumping on a rebounder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like, do you feel better or worse after you lift weights?
I feel great.
You feel great because
yeah.
you change your physiology.
Yeah.
Right. So if you change and shift your physiology, you can change how you feel.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's easier to have a hard conversation on a walk.
Yeah.
Right. So physiology is sometimes people change their physiology by drinking caffeine or coffee or drinking alcohol. You're shifting your physiology and it changes your state.
Yeah.
And then the focus, physiology, and the third is language. It's like, gosh, I'm such an idiot. Is that going to put you into a weak state or a present or peak state?
Right.
It's going to make you weak. You change your language. You know, you talk about sometimes your story. Then, because you believe what you say.
Yeah.
Even if it's internal, like that's been a big struggle for me. Is changing my internal talk.
Yeah.
Because I kind of got my external talk tamed and dialed in, but inside sometimes I'm still saying, "Gosh, Preston, you're such an idiot. You don't have what it takes."
Yeah.
And we believe that stuff, dude. And when we believe, man, I don't have what it takes, I'm going to be thinking of myself. I'm not going to be thinking of serving. I'm going to be thinking about how I'm coming off.
Yeah.
When I think of how I'm coming off, I can't serve.
Yeah.
So what you talked about was shifting your focus
Yeah.
and your language.
Is it in that order?
And you can start anywhere.
Because to me, it makes sense that once you switch your focus, then you're going to, be able to go to the gym, do whatever you got to do. And then when you do that, automatically, you're not going to have the negative thoughts,
Perhaps.
self-talk. But no, that's interesting. I've never heard it, put that way.
Perhaps. And so that's come with like the science of like changing people very fast.
Yeah.
Not doing therapy that takes like 5 years of work. We can do this in 5 sessions.
Yeah.
Or even less.
Yeah.
So sometimes like I feel like I hit a wall.
Yeah.
Like things I'll go work out and I change my focus through that process.
Yeah.
And my language. Like now even a lot of people look down upon this, but I'll share, like I'll do a power nap midday.
Yeah.
Which is I'll hit a wall. I'll go and I'll put my sleep mask on, set a timer for 25 minutes, and I'll wake up and I'm able to shift my focus because I changed my physiology.
Yeah.
Right.
People, because there's this hustle culture out there that if you sleep or if you take a rest and you're not going to be as successful or whatever. I think it's such bull, dude. Especially like, we like lifting weights. Dude, you grow when you're sleeping. If you never sleep, I mean, unless you're on anabolics and you're like The Rock that sleeps 3 hours and then just injects a shit ton of stuff, but if you're not doing that, you need to sleep.
Right.
And so I think that is super helpful. I don't think there's anything wrong with naps. Now, if you're napping more than you're working, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
But no, that is super helpful, man. So you can take a nap, you can go work out, you do the rebound a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's good. You can go on a walk, 20-minute walks. I hear people do that all the time.
Game changer.
Yeah. And then being able to talk to people maybe on the walk is also like something that stimulates the brain,
Yes.
And if not, maybe just meditate or pray.
Bro, yesterday I felt overwhelmed. Like I felt like I had so many things pending, so many deliverables. I'm starting all these new projects. Like God's been so good, right? That needs to be my focus. But my focus is I don't have enough time to get all this stuff done. And do I really have what it takes? And I go on the walk. I'm like, oh, you know what? I haven't talked to this guy in a while. Let me call him and encourage him and speak life into him.
Yeah.
And I come back from the walk and I'm like, okay, I gained nothing from this, but I just breathed life into this guy. I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm not focusing on myself.
Right. I will say, bro, anytime I do something for someone else, it's far more gratifying than when I do something for me. I always feel just like recharged. I feel like I made a difference. I don't know. It's you can't like get that feeling from anything else. So so I guess I would say refocus, be grateful, and do something for someone else. And I think that automatically is going to help you feel better.
Yeah, game changer.
Yeah, man. No, but this is good, man. Any last thoughts on the whole concept of procrastination and being able to help people? Really, we're in 2025. It's February now that this comes out. It's January now that we're shooting it, but it'll come out in February. So, any last words for those people that have these big aspirations for this year?
Let's land on where you were kind of taken off for a bit on the concept of gratitude.
Yeah.
You said it's impossible to be both angry and grateful. It's impossible to be both hateful and grateful.
Correct.
Right? Like, what would it look like to implement a daily gratitude practice to get ahead of it?
Yeah.
And that's something I'm not super talented.
Yeah.
I didn't start super connected. I didn't start with any money.
Yeah.
Those things come, but I don't know where I would be without awareness of how good God has been to me.
Yeah.
Of how I have things in my life that I don't deserve.
Yeah.
But by grace, they're here. And when you have awareness of that, you don't feel like you have to hustle and strive. You can just deliver. So I would recommend, if you don't have a practice of slowing down, dialing everything, and getting a reminder of what you're grateful for. If you can do that, then I think that you'll unlock a superpower that you didn't know you had.
That's good. You think doing that first thing in the morning is most effective, or does it matter?
I think and that's my opinion.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's the best space to do it.
Yeah.
Because you're setting the tone of your day. Because when I practice gratitude, it makes you more generous.
Yeah.
Because you gain awareness of what you have.
Yeah.
So you're not in scarcity mode. And so you start the day in abundance.
Yeah.
And in giving. So I would recommend, and I practice a daily power hour.
Yeah.
Where gratitude and thanking God for my life is part of that process. So I can remember who set things in motion, which isn't me.
Are you walking? Are you also changing your physiology as you're being grateful and thanking God for it?
I have a chair where I do it. Typically, if I'm at home, it depends if I'm traveling or not. I have a rebounder where I'm going through some of that process. I usually sit still in my chair and I practice breathing, and I breathe really deep and shut off all external stimuli. But that's usually the space where I slow down enough to do it.
Nice. Yeah. And I'm curious, when you look at the year 2025, do you have 20 goals? Do you have 3 goals?
9.
Do you have 1 goal? You have 9 goals. Okay. And do you think, What do you think is too many, and what do you think is not enough?
In my opinion, anything above 10 is too many.
Okay.
No, like I wouldn't lead someone personally. Like in working with people in goals over the last decade,
Yeah.
I've not seen follow through past 10, 12.
Yeah.
I think that 9 is probably, a great threshold.
Yeah.
And if you want to start with 3, great. But there are really 9 areas of life, which we can unpack in another episode.
Interesting.
That it's important to have awareness and have inventory of, just like you have inventory of your relationships, your real estate, your finances, your fitness level. There are these 9 areas that if you can keep a pulse on and grow, it just pulls your life forward.
Yeah. And if people want to get some coaching from you, they can find you on Instagram and get in contact.
Yeah,
with
at Preston Woody.
There we go. It'll be in the description as well.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, brother. Well, thank you for taking the time. I'm excited about this new year.
Yeah.
I'm excited about making sure that we follow through and seeing, the podcast grow and every other, venture that we're really pushing forward. Because I know you got a lot of exciting things happening.
Yeah, brother.
And
and in conclusion, like I just want to remind people that, especially, some of the guys that are listening, is you've got a lot more to give than you think you do. And I think that oftentimes our biggest struggle is we know that we have a gift that we are destined and born to give, and we're not giving it. Sometimes because we don't feel like we have the capacity, or we don't have what it takes to give it. And I'll tell you what, you not giving your gift, there's someone else on the other end that you may not even know or see that needs it. So my encouragement to you is, maybe you procrastinate because you don't see value in yourself. What if there's someone else on the other end that needs what you have to offer? So I hope that encourages you to give your gift.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great, man. I think I couldn't have said it better, man. But all right, brother. See you on the next
Set
one.
a new standard.
Oh, yeah. Peace out. If you enjoyed this episode, click here to watch another episode, or click here to watch a clip from the podcast.
And we're down.